Thanks for tuning into our seller interview series. Up to date, we've got an Amazon affiliate business for sale in the outdoors and sports niche. Created in November 2014, this business makes $8,344 per month in net profit, and the listing number for this business is 40952. Now, we do these interviews to give potential buyers more information about both the seller and the businesses they're looking to purchase. We hope these insights are helpful for you in making a buying decision. We've got the seller with us today to go through the business and cover everything from niche selection to traffic and monetization. Thanks for coming on, Rob.
Thanks for having me, Greg.
Yeah, it's good to have you back. I think we were talking off the line earlier that this is the third seller interview you've done, and so always good to have you back. Before we dive into some of the questions, a quick summary for everyone out there listening in. As I mentioned, this business was built in November 2014, has a monthly revenue of $8,344, sitting at zero expenses, so the net profit is the same, $8,344, and that is over a 6-month average. Now, included with the sale of this business is obviously the domain, all the content on that domain, the associated social media accounts, as well as a 957 subscribers on an email list that has yet to be emailed, which we'll also get into a little bit. Now, Rob, I know you pretty well, but for those out there listening in, can you tell us a little bit about your background in building and running online businesses?
Sure. So I got into the affiliate SEO game in around 2013, started playing around with some sites. Finally, a few started taking off, and then in the fall of 2014, so right when this site actually was launched, I decided to quit my job and do affiliate marketing full-time, and been doing it ever since, so almost 3 years now full-time doing this.
That's awesome. And how did you come up with the idea to start this niche site in particular? Obviously, without giving away the actual niche, was it something you were just interested in, or was it something you did some competitive research on?
Yeah, so this is one of my first Amazon, I think first or second Amazon builds after I had quit my job and really tried to, grow out these sites. So at the time, it was basically just kind of looking at what other people were doing in the space. I wasn't really particularly interested in the niche, but I did stumble upon a site that looked like it was doing really well, and I kind of just reverse engineered, their top pages, kind of the way they targeted certain keywords. And then from there, the site kind of became successful, and I just kind of grew more content on the site. One thing that did stand out about this niche was there's such a wide array of topics. So the domain name is, not super specific, so you can kind of write about anything. And I just saw it as a potential to really grow a big site.
It is a pretty big site, and we'll definitely get into that here shortly. But for people that are looking at this as perhaps the first online business they're going to be buying, or perhaps as the first Amazon affiliate business they're going to be buying, could you just briefly explain how this business is primarily making its money in just a few sentences?
Yeah, so essentially it's just a content website reviewing different products in the outdoor space niche, and an interested buyer is going to type something into Google. They want to buy something, want to learn more about it. They're going to stumble across this site. They're going to read some reviews, get directed to Amazon, and then hopefully make a purchase. And then this site, we're given a commission, and that's how it makes its money.
And why are you selling the business? Usually, once you get these businesses up and running, and yours is obviously make pretty healthy profit per month, they're fairly hands off. So why not keep it and just keep growing it and keep cashing those checks?
Right. So I was thinking about this before the call, and I think the number one thing for me is my skill set at this time is really dialed in with kind of creating and getting these sites off the ground. So here we have this example where we have this site, it's gotten to a nice level, but I really don't have the skill set or time to invest in how to take this to the next level. So it would basically require me to scratch creating new sites and basically make this my entire focus. That's the kind of person that needs to come in and basically, I've done this before. I know how to take a medium-sized site and basically just grow the content and take it to the next level. And right now for my business, I'm not the right person to do that. So I see this as this site is literally sitting here, making money for me, yes, but it's just a wasted opportunity, and someone should just take advantage of it. And also, getting the cash is nice to reinvest into my business.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're taking the capital that you get from the sale of this site because you don't feel like you can grow it to the next level, and you're going to use that capital to invest into other businesses, or are you going to take a nice vacation? Any plans for the money?
Yeah, no vacation or anything planned like that, but just more cash flow to keep investing in building and kind of growing these sites out to this level at this time. So, like I said earlier, I'm just not the right person to grow a site like this to the next level. It's not where I'm going to use the money right now.
So when you first built this site, describe that story to me. What was the trajectory of the business in those first few weeks and months?
So, honestly, it was kind of depressing early on.
As they usually are with these sites, yeah?
Yeah, I remember looking back after the first month I had built it. Remember, this is back when I had just started getting into doing affiliate, so I didn't really have a lot of sites under my belt. And a month into it, I looked at it and I go, man, how is this going to make, let alone money that you could live off of? So it was launched in November of 2014. It really didn't make any money until July of 2015 was when the first earnings came in. And it wasn't until November or December of 2015 is when it really got serious. And then kind of ever since then, the last year and a half, it's just been on a pretty good growth mode.
Excellent. Yeah, they often take a while. I've described Amazon affiliate as kind of like snowball. It starts real slow. Maybe like month 14, you start seeing something, and then it just like balloons up into this avalanche if you keep working on it. So
Exactly.
very cool. Is there anything you learned from this business? I'm sure there's a ton you probably learned from this business with it being one of your first sites, but is there anything that just really stands out for you that worked really well for you with this business?
I think something that I've seen in this business and also in other sites I've done is just doing enough keyword research, throwing enough content out there, and sort of not really hanging on to, hey, this is the one page or this is the set of pages that is going to perform best for me. It's hard to tell how certain content's going to react and how it's going to be monetized. So just throw up a lot and then kind of, put in the work, let the time go by, and eventually you're going to get lucky with, some pages and things are just going to kind of take off. So that's kind of the lesson.
Just out of curiosity, since this is one of your first sites, before you were building the site, I'm assuming before you were making much or any money with affiliate marketing. Is that correct? When you first started it?
Yeah, at the time I had one website, not in the Amazon space, doing about 2,000 or 3,000 per month. So that was enough for me to say I'm going to quit my job off one site. So yeah, not a ton. It was pretty tight back then.
Right. Were you writing most of the content on this site yourself, or were you already at a point where you were kind of outsourcing it, using that cash flow from your other site?
So the initial site build was so small that I did outsource it even early on. I think it was 5,000 or 10,000 words for the first 6 months to a year. I think somewhere in month, I'm going to say 9, I then went and did a lot more content on the site, and that was outsourced. Even though it was one of my earlier sites, surprisingly, this was all outsourced.
Nice, very cool. Is there anything you did with this site that just didn't work? Maybe something that you wish you hadn't done?
I'm going to say maybe put a little bit more effort into the conversion rate optimization. The one thing about this site is it's really successful because it gets a lot of traffic and it has a lot of pages. And I'll talk about this in the opportunities, but the content is not stellar, and yet still people go to Amazon and make these purchases. So I would have improved the content early on to help get potential buyers more confident to make sales on Amazon.
Now, speaking of getting a lot of traffic, where is your traffic coming from with the site? Is it mainly all organic from Google, or is there other sources as well?
100% organic from Google.
And your site kind of has an interesting story. So you started off with a PBN. Now, since removed those PBN links and replaced them with white hat links, could you kind of talk about how that happened? What was your process and going about doing that?
Sure. So the site was all PBNs up until around August 2016. The decision at that point was to take it from PBNs and transfer it to all white hat guest post links. And so I teamed up with a friend who did all the outreach for me. And from August through, I think, February or March, so just recently, that's when the white hat campaign went on. I have a list of the guest posts. I think we're at about 50. And if we kind of backtrack a little bit, 75% roughly of the PBNs were off the site by the end of December 2016. It was pretty close to white hat by the end of December. We got some more guest posts coming in early this year, as well as just taking off the remaining PBNs. I don't know if I mentioned it. It was 43 PBNs at the time.
It's quite significant amount of linkage you built there with the white hat. That's great.
Yeah.
Did you find that was difficult to do, or was it pretty easy? I'm assuming your friend must have had some experience in outreach if he was the one doing it for you.
Yeah, he has some experience, so it's something that I don't know a ton about. I'm learning about it right now, so I can't really speak to the difficulty. That was kind of the reason why I took him on to do it.
Yeah, understandable. Now, when it comes to earnings, do you find that you have like one page that's making all the money with this site, or is it multiple pages are actually earning for you?
The spread is like this. The top page earns about or gets 40% of all the traffic. Because Amazon doesn't really let you have like sub-affiliate IDs, you can't track per page, but we can roughly estimate that this one page does make about 40% of the earnings. And then I would say you've got probably about 5 or 6 pages that make up that next 15 to 20%. So that puts us somewhere at around 60%. And then the last 40% is super spread out with a ton of other content. So yeah.
When you were building the white hat links, were you, and maybe you don't know exactly since your partner helped you with this, but when you were building those white hat links, was it towards these money pages, or did you guys have to build like link bait style content to build those white hat links?
Right. So yeah, we didn't really do any link bait style. We basically said, hey, we for sure have to get a ton of links to this page that has 40% of the traffic. So the spread on that, I don't know the exact numbers in front of me, but there was a lot of links going to that one page because we knew that's the one we can't lose. And then from that, we targeted some of the other more traffic pages. And then from there, it was just kind of a spread. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. I was just curious because I'm assuming the top page is a kind of a review style or buyer guide, and I know it can be somewhat difficult to get white hat links towards those because obviously, it's a money page and affiliate site.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't like linking to that. So it's interesting to know. Your guy must be pretty good.
Yeah, we had to kind of, like you said, it is hard to get links to pages like that because, blog owners don't necessarily want to link to them. Whereas when you have like a high value piece article and it's not really selling things, it makes it easier. But yes, he was able to do it. And I've got all the links to show. So.
Right. It's not impossible. And in fact, I knew a guy who got manufacturers of the products he was reviewing to link from their site to his review, which is pretty impressive as well.
Nice.
So definitely can be done. How stable are the earnings? Do you find that there's any seasonality at all throughout the year?
So obviously, the site does really well in the Black Friday, Christmas time. And then it gets a little bit down, in January, February, March, like kind of and I guess October as well, just before Black Friday. So kind of the winterish months. And then it does pick up in the summer months. But that said, it's not, when I say seasonal, it's not what you would typically think. Like it's not like a water rafting type of seasonal. It's very slight, favoring the summer months, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. How much content is on the site now? You mentioned a few times that there was about 10,000 words or so when you kind of first began, but then you start increasing it quite significantly. What does it look like now?
Oh, wow. I'd have to look up the exact, but I'm going to say, I know we're over 100 indexed articles.
Wow.
I don't think it's over 200, but I think it's somewhere between 1 and 200 articles. And I don't think any of them are really shorter than 1,000 words. So
a good chunk of content for sure.
Yeah.
When you were building this, I know you're not actively growing it at the moment, so you're not really doing anything. But when you were building it, did you have like a goal of how much content you wanted to add per month or anything along those lines? Also, were you using one dedicated writer? Did you have a team of writers? How did both of those things look like?
Sure. So the initial launch was, like I said earlier, was not that big. It was a few main articles and buyer's guides, and it was like 10,000 words. 6 to 9 months went by, and I was like, I need to get more content on that. I just hired this writer for a batch of articles. I think it was like 30,000 words. She was a one-time deal. And basically, more or less for the next year or so after that, the site just kind of stood as it was. And then in the fall of this year, my partner and I, who did the white hat, we just decided to go after some really low-hanging fruit keywords and just pumped out a ton of content, and that's how it kind of got over to 100 indexed pages. That was just a set of writers. They're no longer with us, so it's just been kind of, mix and match, and there's not one person that's currently writing or dedicated to this site in any means.
Cool. Speaking of opportunities for someone, let's pretend you're going to keep this business and you wanted to grow it. What would be the least risky path you'd focus on to grow it?
Least risky. So we've got that page that I said that was 40% of the earnings. We spent a good deal working on that and making it a pretty nice resource page, and I think it converts decent. So I wouldn't focus on that. What I would do is focus on that 60% of the traffic that's not that page and go through each article. It's going to take a little bit of work, but basically ask yourself, like, do some research for each of these buyers articles, and is this information, presented in a way that would make someone who is interested in this product actually buy. So this site, in my opinion, makes pretty good money because it's got a lot of traffic and all these pages, but it's not really refined. It's not really conversion rate optimized, whatever you want to call it, very well. So just kind of go in, take that extra time to just make these pages better, and I'm sure the conversion rate and earnings would go up tremendously.
Is there anything you would do if you were incredibly risky, just kind of threw caution to the wind and wanted to grow this business as fast as possible?
I guess linking always gets it's always tagged as risky, but I think you have to go out and get more links. Granted, because it is all white hat, I wouldn't go back to PBNs or something gray hat. I'd really just invest in, getting more links. I guess it's the riskiest thing you can do, but I don't think it's terribly risky in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, I agree. And there are services out there where if someone doesn't know how to do white hat or outreach, there's various productized services out there that they can purchase that service for someone to go and do the outreach for them and all that good stuff. When it comes to the actual risk here to the business, what do you think is a risk that a buyer of this business should be aware of before they purchase the business?
Yeah, I think with all SEO-driven sites, meaning this site relies 100% on Google organic traffic, that's a huge risk in itself. Just to, kind of keep it as the links as clean as possible, keep building content, keep kind of spreading your risk, and the fact that it relies solely on SEO.
Yeah, I think that's a very important thing to realize. We never know when the algorithm might change, right? But like you said, you can mitigate the risk, and the new buyer has a little head start on that with the email list. Do you want to go into that email list, by the way? I know you mentioned before we hopped on the call that no one had ever actually been emailed. Do you want to just describe what was happening there?
Yeah, I'll talk about it. This was about February, March time of 2016, so just over a year ago. And I was just dabbling around with doing an email list, and there was this offer where basically, forget this website, they're giving out basically like a free, I don't want to say what the product is because it kind of gives away the niche, but right. A free something if you signed up. So I basically got them on my email list, and then basically they got this free offer. So there's 957 subscribers on the list. I never went back and sent them even like a 1 month like follow-up email or anything like that. And the list was just taken down. Again, it kind of goes back into the overarching thing I was talking about, which is my main focus is just launching and growing sites. So I just realized I didn't know how to do email and I didn't want to get into it. So it is what it is, and you've got a list there if you've ever wanted to play around, grow with it, or even just kind of test sending out emails to them.
Yeah, I think it is an interesting opportunity for someone who wants to take the site to a bigger authority site level, right, and build like more of a brand and all that good stuff. So I think it's definitely worthwhile to mention. When it comes to the work required, what were you doing what are you currently doing, I guess, to maintain the site? Or what is your weekly and monthly tasks for the site?
At this stage right now, close to nothing. I mean, it just, it kind of just does its thing right now. And I just check the traffic just to kind of get a pulse for what the site's doing. And then, maybe quarterly I'll go in or have my VA go in and just kind of check to make sure all the links going to Amazon are products that are still being sold or not discontinued. So basically just monitoring and auditing. Again, that's how it is now. Obviously, that's not if you were trying to grow it in any aggressive manner.
Right, of course. And when it comes to a buyer looking at this business, would you recommend them to have any certain kind of skill sets before purchasing a business like this?
I think this is a type of business that, if this is someone that is established and kind of taking like a website that's existing and kind of growing it into something bigger. So conversion rate optimization, they know how to add more content to a current site. And then I guess bonus would be how to do outreach, or at least kind of, where to hire and kind of get more links. So just someone who's kind of done this before, has a good idea of what it takes to make this site to the next level.
Excellent. And moving to some wrap up questions here, would you be willing to commit to a non compete with the buyer?
Yes, absolutely.
And how much support would you be willing to offer that buyer?
Can't remember what I put, but I think a month of unlimited email back and forth, and then maybe 2 or 3 hours of Skype calls live on the phone if they needed.
Now, obviously, the best case scenario here for you and for Empire Flippers is someone comes in and purchases the business outright for full list price. But would you at all be open to a split or earn out, say like 80% up front and then 20% over a certain earn out period, or perhaps after meeting a certain training period or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, as long as the deal felt right, I'm open to anything.
Cool. Obviously, this is a very personalized case by case basis, so I know it could be hard to answer that question. Before I ask you my final question, Rob, I just want to give an overview of the business again for everyone listening in. As I said, the business was built in November 2014, has a monthly revenue of $8,344. Zero expenses for that net profit of $8,344. And it is over a 6-month average. Included with the sale of this business is the domain, the content, associated social media accounts, as well as an email list numbering with 957 email subscribers that have yet to have been emailed. With all that said, my final question for you, Rob, is what is your best pitch in 30 seconds or less on why someone should purchase this business?
All right. So if you take on this business, you've got a safe white hat style website that's almost 3 years old, which in the affiliate website game is a pretty old established website. It's sitting here just begging to be grown, taken to the next level. Just a little bit of content, fix up the current content, a strong content plan, kind of grow the site. There's no reason why if you did those two things, you couldn't double the current monthly earnings in around 6 months' time.
Rob, every time you do a seller interview with me, your pitch gets better and better. I can't wait to see what the fourth one looks like.
Woohoo!
This is great. I totally agree with you. Great pitch there. It is really cool that you were able to take it from PBN to a white hat site. I think that's awesome because it just shows so many things about the site that you have actual valuable content because other people will actually link to you. So that's awesome. For those out there, if you're watching this on YouTube and you want more information, the link will be below this video in the description for you to click on to take you to the marketplace listing. Now, if you're watching this on the actual listing page and you want more information, you become a depositor today. All you have to do is click the button, make a deposit, and you'll be given everything you need to review this business. So, Rob, thank you so much for coming on, man. It's been an absolute pleasure, like always.
Thanks for having me, Greg.